Alright guys, I'm not gonna waste you guys' time and get straight into the video. I just want to say thank you for all the newfound support. We're a small growing channel trying to hit 700 subs by the beginning of New Year's. And this clip was taken from my Twitch channel. Links in the bottom description. If you want to watch me live, thank you again, and I'll catch you guys later. Killer couple realizes cop found their murder house. Here's the thing about murderers. I can see probably actually I can't see you killing nobody. That's messed up. But if you have a house of murders and victims, it's like, first off, what are you even killing people over? And secondly, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's weird.
Step out of the car.
Oh, it's good
Man,
now.
move over here. Hands up, please.
Why are you doing this?
Let me ask you this. What did you do to that girl?
And they had a bust down house. It's disgusting.
If anyone's up there, come down with your hands up now.
I think there's blood on this wall. Yeah, this looks like dried blood.
These cops just found the bloodstains of a missing girl. Samantha Guthrie left her mother's house the previous day, never to be seen again, and her blood was just discovered on the walls
Sickening.
of this abandoned house. But the police are about to realize that this is a couple's murder house, and the killers have already fled across town, hunting for their next victim.
Why don't you explain what's going on?
With no idea who the next victim of the killer couple could be, and with time running out, detectives find themselves entangled in a web of multiple suspects, all tied to the abandoned murder house.
You're looking at some serious problems.
I got nothing to say to y'all. Got my attorney present. Nobody else sitting here. I got nothing to say.
Help us.
At least he knows his rights.
She deserved to be killed like this.
That's one thing I give him credit for. He knows his rights. He knows not to say nothing.
Everything started in November 2018, when a mother called police worried that her daughter had vanished without a trace. It had already been more than a day since anyone had seen 18-year-old Samantha Guthrie, and the cops arrived quickly to take her mother, Joni's, statement.
Hello. What's going on?
I need to file a missing person report.
Okay, for?
My daughter.
Okay. How old's your daughter?
She's 18.
Okay. So, what makes her missing?
We can't find her. We got a call yesterday saying she was shot
Dude, that's so heart wrenching. My heart goes out for her.
and they took off. The police were called yesterday. They went over to the house that it supposedly happened at. They checked. They said they didn't see anything.
Right. Okay. And where was this supposed to be at?
On Lillian.
Lillian. Where's Lillian at? I've never heard of it.
Little did this cop know, he'd become extremely familiar with Lillian Street, as it would become the site of hours and hours of investigation, and one of the most disturbing
This is the
crimes
part of
to
being
come
a
out the
cop that
city.
people don't really explain, that you have to see these type of scenes. This is what stops me from being in any field of medical or anything like that. I couldn't see the physical trauma that people have to go through. Yeah, rip Samantha Guthrie for real. But like it's messed up and it's sick how there's actual human, like, stuff we watch on TV and we think, oh, it's just TV. Like, people are doing that in real life. People are actually somewhere getting, you know, like, it's sick. Like, it's really, really sick.
In years. But for now, it sounds as though Samantha was murdered, or at the very least kidnapped. But nobody can be sure. All this information came over a mysterious phone call from someone they didn't even know.
What's the address again?
375 Lillian.
Why would she be over there?
Nah, yeah, the one big downside for real, 100%.
Because she's started getting into bad stuff.
Okay.
She turned 18. She left.
When was that?
May.
So that's the house right there?
I don't know what the house looks like.
Okay.
I didn't go there.
It turns out the house that Joni is talking about was due to be boarded up in just a few days. It's in a rough area of town and has been abandoned for months. And as Joni said, Samantha had been struggling heavily. She left home as soon as she turned 18 and instantly fell in with a bad crowd. She was often seen frequenting abandoned houses known to be used by drug abusers and criminals, and she was slowly getting more distant from her family.
Yeah, the Lillian address is vacant.
I know.
And the officers had it boarded up.
You can't
So,
control who your
can't see
kids
any-
become, but I think you play a huge role in the path they choose, right? And you, like I said, you can't control what path they're going to choose, but you can you influence the path that is chosen, right? If you're super strict and then they become off the hinge, you indirectly made them that way. You can't force them to go the path you want them. You can even be super nice and coddle them and be real good to them, and then they still choose another path just because you coddled them their whole life. So like, you can influence them, you just never know which way to do it. Like, you don't really have, like, ensuring them that your home is a safe place. Yeah, like 100%. Like with me, for example, my parents did a pretty good job. Like, they raised me pretty fine. Like, I think that also comes down to, that's just my personality, right? There's parts of personality you can't change, right? Because I grew up in a household with other people, and we don't all act the same. So it just depends on you as a person as well, though.
No blood, no nothing. To be honest with you, I think it's gonna be fun.
After this, Joni would give over a description of Samantha, including a distinctive butterfly tattoo on her right arm, before telling the cop one more crucial piece of information.
The name of the person she was last with, the supposed person that shot her.
Okay, sure.
Danny Hamby.
Who? Danny Hamby?
This wasn't a familiar name to police, and the officer still wouldn't seem to be too worried by the situation, but that would soon come to change.
Why'd the cop say sure?
The
He
very
should want
same
that
evening,
information. He should
after
jump on
publishing a
that.
missing persons report of Samantha, a lone man would come to police claiming he knew exactly what happened to her and would lead police to launch a months-long investigation into multiple people, all connected to the abandoned murder house. But before we get to that, I want to secure your crazy. It's always much often secure. With surprise being tried, I say his head to less than back to the. And the morning after, back in Akron, police had just published a detailed description of Samantha. And the morning after, a very worried man would contact and claim to have details that could either save her life or lead them to her body.
All right, today is Tuesday, and we're here with, what's your first name?
John Marshall.
All right, so we're here to talk about something that happened over on Lillian Street back in November 4th.
Mm-hmm.
All right, why don't you tell me about what happened that night?
John Marshall
Why
was
do
the
all cops
first
sound
of
the
many
same?
witnesses in
Am I
this
tripping?
case, and he got in contact with the cops after hearing that they were looking for Samantha. Apparently, he was actually at the house on the night everything happened and saw it all with his own two eyes. The problem is, it almost sounds too good to be true. The cops don't know Marshall and can't necessarily trust him to give a truthful statement, meaning they'll have to verify all evidence he gives over. So as Marshall talks to the cops, we'll be keeping track of each piece of information and then following how the cops investigate and verify it all in order to hopefully solve the case and find Samantha.
Sam had been trying to get a ride over to the house for a few hours. I didn't feel like driving anymore to go pick her up, so I didn't pick her up that night. And a few hours later, she showed up from an Uber, I'm
Okay.
guessing, that her dad had.
All right, now when you say the house, what's the address?
75 William.
Okay.
I'm guessing, from what I've been told, her dad paid for an Uber for her to get over there.
Okay.
This is already an easy piece of information to verify. If Samantha's dad did pay for the Uber, then he'd certainly remember that and be able to confirm it. And conveniently, the cops had interviewed her dad a few hours later, and he did indeed tell him that he'd bought her an Uber that night. On top of that, the address Marshall gave was also correct, so it seems that he's turning out to be trustworthy so far.
But I was walking to the Circle K on Copley and Rhodes to get cigarettes and a soda when I seen her and Yoshi walking to the house on Lillian. And about a half hour after I got back to the house, and half hour, 45 minutes or so, Danny showed up and knocked on the back door. I answered the door.
Now, how do you know Danny?
Just in passing.
Do you know him from the house?
Yeah,
And you know what his last name is?
Hamby.
Now, things are starting to get weird. That's the name that Joni said could be the killer, and Marshall seems to know him and the people he's friends with.
Okay, was he by himself?
No, he was with Tony.
Okay.
He
is
do
what I
got
was
some
told
good
her name
information.
was. And that one black guy that I've never seen before.
Okay, do you know what he looks like?
Yeah. I think, what's his name? Marcus? Something with an M, I want to say. Or,
What's he look like?
William.
Okay, William. All right, what's he look like?
Tall, about 6'2", 6'3",
Dang.
225, medium build,
Okay.
dark skin.
So they came up.
He's a medium build. Bro is a professional. He's done this before. Bro's a 10 out of 10 suspect right here.
All right.
I mean, witness. My fault.
And who let him in? Okay, so you let him in, and then what happens?
They went upstairs and talked to Jody. Upstairs in Jody's room was Jody, Kim, Kate, Sam, then Danny and Tony, and William stayed downstairs.
This is incredibly useful information that Marshall is passing over. He's just given the names of 6 potential witnesses and suspects, and he seems to know them all personally. If this is all true, then Marshall could have just taken this case from no leads at all to almost too much to handle. The only thing the cops need now is verifiable information about exactly what happened to Samantha. That's when the detective asks this question, and gets much more than he bargained for.
All right, so Sam and all of them were upstairs.
Yes.
So what happens next?
I didn't hear any yelling or anything, but music was playing, and Sam came downstairs looking kind of distraught, and she looked at me. I'm like, then go out the back door. Go out the back door. If you know, she kind of looked like she was panicking, so I'm like, leave.
Right.
But she went to the basement, and 2 or 3 minutes later, I heard a little bit of a commotion, and then Sam came upstairs first, and she had like a little bit of a bloody nose.
Okay.
Or a busted lip, I couldn't tell. And she went back upstairs to Jody's room. Danny and Tony followed.
Like, followed her or chased her?
No, followed. They just kind of, followed. And 5, maybe 10 minutes later, Sam came running down the stairs. Danny was right behind her, and by the time she got to the 4th or 5th stair down from the living room floor, he shot her in the back of the head.
Holy.
It doesn't get...
Wait, so he just openly, in cold blood, shot her in front of everybody? Why did it take this long to get a confession? This case should have been solved the day it happened, if that many people saw her get shot.
Much clearer than that. Apparently, Samantha then fell to the ground, and the house fell into disarray. 2 men named Yoshi and William then started to order Marshall and his friends around before helping to carry Samantha's body to a vehicle outside. The detective was starting to get a perfect picture of what this case really was, but there was still one burning question.
Okay, is Sam alive?
For any of y'all who know like legal stuff, this is a genuine question. And this could be anyone on YouTube as well. In the comments, let me know. Is it illegal to like not report something you've seen? Like if you see someone get shot, murdered, or something like that, or if you have information and you just, it's not that you're hiding it, you just don't say nothing. Is that illegal? Like, do they have to ask you the question before you answer it, or are you obligated by law to go tell them what you know?
It sounded... She
Sounds
was
illegal?
making noises, but in my past experiences, it sounded more like death gargles. Your body's shutting down.
Okay.
Honestly.
So she's still kind of breathing at this point.
Yeah, but she got shot in the back of the head by 8
Gotcha.
to 10 inches away with a Smith & Wesson MP4.
This kid knows everything. Oh my goodness,
From the
somebody hired
sounds of it, Samantha technically survived the shot, but it wasn't looking good. If she wasn't taken to a hospital quickly,
knew the gun
she
and
likely
everything.
wouldn't have made it. But it doesn't seem like the killers were expecting her to live. At least the cops now have a possible murder weapon, a Smith & Wesson MP40. Remember though, the cops have already searched the house and didn't find any evidence of a murder. But given the importance of this information, they decide to go back and see if they missed anything. At this point, Samantha's life hangs in the balance. If they find a single bullet casing or blood splatter, it likely means that Marshall was telling the truth and Samantha is long dead.
So I'll just pull up.
That's the only downfall of being the police is you have to play by the rules. Like there's active shooters, they all know you're in the crib now. And you have no idea. You're going upstairs thinking, oh, I'm just doing a perimeter sweep.
These are the steps that Samantha was allegedly shot on. But the cops can't stop to investigate yet. Knowing how hot this house is and how many places there are for people to hide, they have to be on high alert and clear the entire place out before they can even think about letting their guard down. All 3 officers have their guns drawn and are doing their best to stick together should anybody be inside.
Look at the bottom. It says, Lou says F the police. How would you feel walking in, seeing this as a cop, knowing someone just got shot in the shot? Like, you know what I mean?
I'm going left. I can't.
Clear.
How do people feel comfortable in these kind of houses? Like, I feel like it just collapsed. And why do people randomly write on the walls? I will never understand that. What composed you to write on a random wall of a house? That's broken down.
By the looks of it,
Every time, it never fails.
It seems like the house is empty, but it's a complete mess. There's no obvious evidence of a murder anywhere, so it's now clear why the cops didn't find anything their first time here. However, Marshall had told them two very important things: exactly where the shot was allegedly taken, and more importantly, that William and Yoshi had actually come back to clean up the scene. That means that any signs of the murder could be extremely difficult to find, but not impossible. In fact, you've actually already seen some evidence that proves Marshall's story to be 100% true. Take another look at the marking on this wall, right below the crack. It's a little difficult to see, but that isn't graffiti. That's Samantha Guthrie's blood. Once the cops spotted this, it all fell into place. Multiple blood spatters that hadn't been cleaned up were found on the walls, as well as the bullet casings that looked similar to the bullets that the Smith & Wesson
Ew, is that the floor?
uses. Marshall was telling the truth. Danny and Tony were now wanted for murder, and they had 4 other witnesses they could use to track them down and convict them. And in fact, they wouldn't have to wait long, as police were soon called to a house where a girl claimed a couple had chased her with a gun.
This young lady came in my back door, and what's going on?
What a great pedestrian right there. He's a great pedestrian. I honestly, I genuinely don't. I love helping people, but you gotta look out for your own family sometimes, bro. If a lady came running in, getting shot at, I truly don't know what would happen. I don't know if I'd say I'd open the door or not. You gotta think strategically sometimes. And it could be a setup. I've seen people get set up that way.
You want to step outside and talk? Who's they? Huh?
Yeah, nah, ain't no way.
Do you need EMS for anything?
This is Kimberly. One of the girls that Marshall mentioned was at the house the day Samantha was shot. The owners of this home called the cops after she begs them to let her inside as she was being chased, allegedly by some others that frequent the house on Lillian Street. The cops are desperate to know what could have possibly made her this distressed, so they bring her outside to their cruiser to talk.
You're safe now, okay? Why don't you explain what's going on? Who's they? What do they look like?
This guy named Demon.
Black guy, white guy?
Black, like short.
He's really black. Wow.
Black pants and a black short sleeve hoodie thing that like had a hood, like it's drawstrings right here, but it wasn't like a hoodie.
Just one black guy?
You know, they were with a bunch of white guys. And I think
A black and white guy?
there was a black guy, like 3 white guys. And then it makes I think I was 2 days running.
Whatever happened to Kimberly was clearly a blur to her, but the cops are starting to get a little concerned. Barely a couple days after Samantha's supposed death, one of the witnesses gets chased by a group of people holding guns. It could just be coincidence, albeit a terrifying one, so the cops ask her why she was in town to see if this could be related to anything else, and they get the most worrying answer possible.
So you're from the Falls, you were visiting a friend here in Akron. Where's that friend at now? And where do you know where they live?
I'm gonna run her names.
What's the friend's name? What's her last name?
Harrison.
Jody Harrison. Do you know what street she lives on?
That's a guy.
What's that?
It's a guy.
Okay, what street does he live on?
He's on Lillian.
What is it? Lillian?
The only
Oof.
reason Kim was in town was to meet her friend Jody on Lillian Street, and she doesn't know anyone else from around here. That's when the cops come to a horrifying realization. They think Kim was just attacked because she was a witness to Samantha's supposed murder, and now they have a terrifying situation on their hands. If they don't track down the killers and all
Dude,
their
these killers gotta be like, what was the point? Everyone was in the crib. He shot someone in the back of the head and then just let everyone leave to try to later come back and finish the job. Now, I'm not telling him how to do his job as a killer, because obviously it's a blessing that these people were able to get away and survive. But he should just empty the clip. If he was going to do all this, there's the point. You might as well just empty the clip in the house. Now, that might sound actually messed up out of context, but, you know, y'all get what I'm trying to say.
Accomplices quickly, they could be looking at a lot more than just one murder. This case had now become a top priority, and all local officers and detectives were on high alert for any leads that could help them find even just one of the suspects. And that's when they got a potentially life-saving call. A man was claiming that Danny and Tony had pulled a gun on him inside the house, and that the suspects were now in the parking lot outside bragging about killing somebody just days earlier.
Bro,
Cops
they are
immediately headed to
hothead.
the scene, thinking this might be their chance to catch the lead suspects behind Samantha's disappearance.
Step out of the car! Step out of the car! Man, move over here! Step out of the car! Hands up, please. Hands up, please. What is that? Okay. Put all that stuff down. Put it down!
Why? Why are you doing this?
Put it down! Hands on top of your head!
Why are you doing this?
Stay right there. Turn around. Turn around. Nope. Stay right there. I'm telling you for now, okay? I'll explain to you what's going on in a second. Do you have any sharp on you? Any weapons or anything? Don't reach for nothing. Do you have any weapons on you? Have a seat. Stand up for me.
Are they homeless?
What are you doing with your foot, man?
I got
Blisters?
blisters and fucking, it's called jungle rot.
Jungle rot.
There's another one right here.
Where at? Don't reach.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll put you something by, bro.
Sit pipe right here.
Okay.
There's a knife right there.
I'll take care of it.
I just want to make sure I got a bag of needles in my pocket.
Oh, so they are.
So far, this has been surprisingly easy. At this point, the officer had no idea it would actually be the interrogations that'd be the hardest part of this process, but he's enjoying the simplicity while it lasts. Soon, a couple more officers arrive on the scene to help search Danny and Tori, secure them, and collect some information before they're taken away for questioning.
I haven't been upstairs to talk to whoever lives here yet. Okay. When I pulled up, he was in the driver's seat. She was digging in the trunk. As soon as she saw me, looked like she did something, she closed it real fast. I just did a quick pack on to make sure they have any guns on him. But if you guys could try to get a hold of him, figure out what the hell is going on here.
You don't have anything on you that's gonna poke me, frick me, anything like that, right? No weapons we need to be aware of? If you do, tell me now.
I actually have my gun. I only had it because
Where is it at? Is it
don't-
loaded?
It's not one of them.
At least she was honest.
Is it right here on the side?
I
I don't want to
used-
set it off.
I
I don't want, I know, I just...
I never used it before. I just my mom made sure I took it with me for the concrete. I'm the one.
That's what people don't understand. If you have a gun, it's not like move. You can't just pick up a gun and use it and shoot people. It doesn't work like that. Like, you gotta go to the range or something. Like, people be point blank and missing. Like, it's not easy to hit a target with a gun. And I've never shot a gun, but I can just tell you because I have like a little bit of awareness about it.
She had a gun in her wall. I haven't found his yet.
Where's your? You got a gun?
I had 2 knives off laying there.
2 knives. What's your name?
Danny,
Is it okay if I check your pockets here real quick? Yeah, we're not trying to give anyone a hard time. We got a call that people with guns and warrants and things like that.
Warrants? You have to look at there a little bit of...
People who actually use knives are like,
What is it?
Meth.
Meth?
Listen, I don't do drugs, so I have no idea. But why was he so sickened to the thought of it being fentanyl? But he thought it was just meth. He's funny for that. He's funny for that. He gets some brownie points for that one.
Just come around here. There you go, good.
Eventually, the officers brought Danny and Tony back to the station for interrogation, and this is where the hard part started for the detectives.
Lieutenant Whit and Detective Ross. How you doing? So, they got you with a gun. Okay. You okay?
I want my attorney.
Okay. Can I read what you did anyway?
Yeah.
For the record? You have the right to remain silent. You understand this, right?
Here, it's important to note that Danny thinks he's been brought in just because of the gun incident. At this point, he is unaware that police have him and Tony as lead suspects for Samantha's disappearance. Detectives are doing this to potentially lead him into a fake story or timeline that they can prove wrong later.
You've indicated that you want to talk to your lawyer?
Correct. I don't know what it's about, but I still want my attorney. I know that.
Okay.
I do this.
All right. I don't know what to do about your...
For that 11 numbers, give me my attorney.
All right. Man, I don't know what we can do about your freezing, but maybe get you out of here as soon as we can. How's that? While you're here, can we cover, at least cover something?
You can talk, I ain't gonna say nothing.
You mind if we get some swabs from you?
Like I said, you can talk, I ain't gonna say nothing.
All right.
Look, I'm gonna say it like this, man. I got 11 numbers, 23 years in the system. I ain't got nothing to say to y'all. Without my attorney present, nobody else sitting here, I ain't got nothing to say.
Danny's been in this situation before, and he knows exactly what to do. At the very least, stall the detective's process for as long as possible. He's staying quiet and refusing to speak without an attorney present, as is his right. So the detectives have no other choice but to switch up.
Even if you're innocent, sometimes it's best to do that because some cops don't really care about the actual case and they just want to get, like, somebody booked. Like, there's people who go to jail for things they didn't do purely because it's their job. Like, it's other people's job to convict you, right? If you're a defense attorney, your job is to literally get people off the hook. So you're literally freeing people who probably did actually commit those crimes, and vice versa. If you're I forget the name of it, but if you're an attorney who puts people in jail, then it's like you're putting innocent people in jail who didn't do nothing. So, it goes both ways.
Over to Tony and see if she will budge instead.
Have a seat there. I'm Lieutenant Whit, and this is Detective Ross.
Hello.
Hi.
But I didn't know anything else. I never had a weapon before in my life. My mom gave it to me because I started working here at Lake Night. So.
We're gonna read your Miranda rights, okay?
They already did that.
Okay. Good. Okay, you understand them and everything? Okay. There's a girl that's missing, and we have strong reason to believe he's involved in her disappearance.
He couldn't do that.
So.
He couldn't do that.
Why couldn't he do it?
Because he's not that type of person.
Okay, but like I said, we have a lot of information pointing to his involvement in this girl's disappearance. So what I want from you to know if you've ever seen this girl before, and think hard before you answer, because we want to know if you've seen her.
Cap.
Okay, and you've never seen her before. That's true.
They're deciding to be a lot more upfront with Tony and treat her not as a suspect, but more of a witness. It's likely she wouldn't confess to being involved in the murder, but they think there could be a chance that she'd turn Danny in if she thought it meant she'd get away. Unfortunately, though, having been on the wrong side of the law in the past herself, she's not about to help the cops out so easily.
I'm gonna be straight with you. He's looking at some serious problems. And from what you're telling me, if you were with him that whole time the past 3 days, which she went disappeared in the last 3 days. So if you were with him the whole time, you know what my next leap is.
Well, that's ridiculous because he was with me. We were in Warren.
Think real hard, because this is very important to what happens with you in the future. Okay?
No, I get that. I'm not that stupid.
Okay, hang on. Hear me out. So this is not a misdemeanor crime we're investigating. We don't do that, okay? When we get involved, something bad has happened. We know some other stuff went on this weekend, specifically yesterday, Saturday night, at a house in Akron. So I don't want you to get in any trouble with something that you were just along for the ride. But if you're going to sit here and tell us you the whole time,
he's a really good detective.
Him, but you're not.
You're hurting yourself.
Let me tell you about the house where it happened at. We've talked to people that's been at the house. They were all at this house where this girl disappeared from. In fact, something bad happened to her at the house. You know why we know that? Because the guys, we've already talked to him all day. We spent all day talking to him. And he gave us detailed accounts of what happened at that house. So you have to think hard about how you want to handle this, because if you're going to sit here and vouch for him, that can get you caught. That can get you in trouble. You have kids?
Yes,
You
I have
mentioned-
2 kids.
He's a really good. Oh, he's good.
Okay. What would you do if one of those boys went missing?
Everything I could to find them.
Okay, would you expect people to help us to find him, to locate him?
Yeah.
The
Playing
route
off
the
her
detective is
emotion.
taking is obvious and would work on the
Guilt
majority
trip,
of
he's
people.
nice.
He's trying to scare Tony into giving up what she knows so they can get to the bottom of things faster. If she gives Danny up, she might get a good deal with them, but if not, things could end up real badly for her. The most interesting dynamic here, though, is how the detective is trying to use Marshall's earlier statement against her. This happens all the time, but usually they're exaggerating the strength of the evidence or making it up completely. This time, though, they actually have an airtight statement, but Tony simply doesn't believe them. That means she thinks she can just continue to deny everything, and instead of taking a deal for less jail time, she can just get away with no charges. So with this in mind, watch how confidently she denies everything, unaware that the detectives know every word she speaks is a lie.
Cooked her.
So, this girl, this family, has been out looking for her all day. Okay, but unfortunately, we already know what happened to her. So from here on out, anything that based on what you're telling us, I mean, we're giving you this chance to talk to us now. Anything that in relation to her, what happened to this girl, is going to be attached to you too. Okay? Because we're giving you a chance. But if you want to cover for him, that's fine. I don't
I'm
care.
not covering
It don't
for him,
matter.
but
it don't matter to me.
That's just.
We're going to move on
I'm
with the
sorry
investigation.
that this happened to that girl. I don't.
We have reason to believe you were there.
That I was there.
Mhm.
I don't kick it in Akron like that. I just started to come to Akron when I got hired.
We're not saying that it was a every weekend thing, but we're saying that we have reason to believe, based on what we've been doing all day.
Is this a good
you
cop,
were
bad cop thing?
No, sorry, I've never seen that girl in my life.
there. And we have people that have told us you were there.
Oh, that's ridiculous because I don't know anybody really from Akron.
You know, actually, in addition to the people that we talked to, said that this all started because you and this girl got into some kind of altercation.
I don't know this girl. I've never seen this girl.
Yeah, she's cooked. She talked way too much in general.
Okay, like I said, once we move forward in this investigation, from what you're telling us, since you're with him, you're going to be attached to whatever we do with him. You understand that, right?
Well, yeah, I'm his girlfriend.
Okay, just so we got that clear.
I've never seen that girl.
Who's that?
I don't know who that is either.
You hardly even looked at him.
I looked at him. I don't know who that is.
Well, I got to know him, so did Detective Ross. We got to know him a lot today. We spent the entire day with him.
Well, what's his name?
And, well, that's not important. You don't know him, so what difference does it make?
In reality, Tony is extremely familiar with the man in the photo, as he's the man that helped load Samantha into her car. That man is Yoshi. Conveniently, Yoshi, whose real name is Dylan, had just been brought in on unrelated warrants, and detectives couldn't believe their luck. One of the main witnesses, possibly even an accomplice, had been brought right to them without any effort whatsoever. The best part? Dylan wasn't the hardened criminal they expected. In fact, his interrogation was unlike anything you've ever seen. Not only is it truly heartbreaking, but it was actually key to putting not one, not two, but 3 people behind bars for Samantha's murder.
Dang.
This is serious. Did something bad happen to her?
I don't know.
She's a young girl, man.
No,
What happened to her?
I don't know. I just found her a couple of days ago.
Help us. Help us. Have you seen something bad?
Not 5 minutes into the interview, we see an emotion painted on Dylan's face you don't often see in the interrogation room. He's holding back tears, trying to hide his face, and is exhibiting a type of stress you rarely see in
Dang, he's got a good
criminals.
heart, bro.
He's terrified and devastated at the same time.
Or maybe, I don't know. Some people be crying out of fear, but I think he might be able to have a good heart in him. I feel like everyone does. You just gotta. Some people gotta dig a little deeper to find it.
After all, he's just 19 years old. He shouldn't be caught up in all of this. The detective picks up on this immediately and wants to figure out precisely why Dylan feels so strongly about all this. They spend some time discussing simple details, with Dylan deflecting pretty much everything. But this whole time, the stress is building up in Dylan, and 15 minutes later, the detective notices that he's on the verge of completely breaking down, and he decides to exploit this perfectly.
What did you see? I told you what I saw. No, I mean, there's more that you saw. We need your help. She deserves to be killed like this. Help us. What if this was your family member, your sister? Hey, there comes a time where in your life where you have to make a right decision, do the right thing. We need your help.
She's actually dead.
Okay.
Is she?
That's what I'm talking to you about. Did you see something that happened to her? If we talk about it, you're gonna feel like the weight of the world is off your shoulders. There's only one thing that makes a person get this emotional. That's if they saw something bad.
I remember a couple days ago when we were talking, we were having a good time, and I don't know why.
Don't know why what?
Why I feel so close to her.
So you guys said, well, you're close to the same age, right? You felt a connection with her? Because you maybe had the same problems growing up and stuff like that?
Probably.
What did you guys talk about? Just life and stuff like that?
Yeah. But listen to music as well.
Did you guys listen to? You guys like?
She played music. I don't really prefer music. I just like the white noise.
It's tough, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're here.
I've been fine up to this point. Not talking about it, not thinking about it. I mean, I was thinking about it, but
what were you thinking about?
Just that this person that could have been a potentially good friend, or maybe, I don't know, is not going to be that person.
No, it hurts. Maybe you can help her. She may not be here, but that doesn't mean you can't help her.
Help her what?
Let's find out what happened to her.
There are hardly any words to describe what Dylan must be feeling here. He was clearly born on the wrong side of the tracks and fell in with a bad crowd. He also clearly loved Samantha, which is really the biggest tragedy of all. Over the dozens of interrogations.
Why is he trying to act like he doesn't
witnesses-
have information though? I just don't get it. Like, it's very apparent that he knows something. Like, I don't get where he's trying to hide it.
that were conducted, detectives realized that Samantha was murdered over a small disagreement with Danny and Tony. It was needless, senseless, and ruined countless lives, and Dylan is unwillingly right in the center of it all. The detective gives Dylan a moment to calm down and work through his emotions. Then he tells Dylan that he has one more chance to tell him what happened, bring peace to Samantha's family, and get to the bottom of this once and for all.
I was on my way out. Sam came back with, I guess, his girl or someone came in with her. They were yelling at each other, arguing, going towards the direction of downstairs. She turned around, came back, either slapped her or put something on her cheek or something. I don't know. And she went downstairs. And while she was on the stairs, turning that corner to go down the rest of the stairs, he followed her and held the gun up, shot. I don't know where he hit her. He only grazed her. She fell on the ground at the bottom of the stairs. I had to carry her out to the trunk.
Did you make you do that? Did you make you carry her out?
No, I'm straight.
I wasn't not going to.
You still had the gun out at that time?
No. But I mean, that's not what had me do it. I mean, there's a body in the living room and blood everywhere. So we got on the furniture, or I got on the furniture, tore up the carpet, cleaned up the wooded floor and the roof.
Where's the carpet at?
Gone.
On where?
Burned.
How'd you get all the furniture out of there?
I moved it.
This guy's
What
crazy.
did you do once it was outside?
It wasn't outside, it's all in the kitchen.
Still in there?
Probably.
Everything Dylan has said lines up perfectly with not just Marshall's statement, but the evidence too. Outside, the detectives found a fire pit where something had recently been burned. They surmised that this was a carpet with all of Samantha's blood on it. And inside, right at the bottom of the stairs we looked at earlier, a large area of carpet and drywall are missing right where Samantha was shot. However, that's where Dylan says his involvement ended, meaning he can't answer the single most important question that the detectives still had. Where was Samantha's body?
Actual
For that,
rat?
They told the cops
He's
to
a
turn
bum.
to the
I'm gonna tell you why
fourth
he's a
and
bum.
final suspect.
First off, he's a bum for 2 reasons. He didn't actually do nothing, yet he tried to hide information. Secondly, he waited until other charges. He waited until he got talked into confessing. Why would you try to protect people who are like that? Right? I get you had involvement, whatever the case is. You probably felt the need to not say nothing because you didn't want to get caught. Which is cool, I guess. You didn't want the people to know that you told. Helping in that moment is what I mean. In that moment, right, he just shot somebody. You're all in the house. You're helping hide the body, burn and stuff. Dude, okay, it's cool. Maybe you didn't want them to think you was on some weird type of timing. But right after that, you're supposed to go to the cops and go to witness protection program, and you good. But he's a bum and tried to hide it, so he just lost respect to me.
That the cops had had since the very beginning. William, who Dylan said left in the car with Danny to hide Samantha's body.
Our concern is obviously for most.
He's not there mentally.
I think, and I think you're probably feeling that way too a little bit. Whatever this girl's relationship with her mom and dad, she has a mom and dad, and they want to be able to bury the kid. We know she's dead. I know you're probably wiped out. We're wiped out. We've been at this since this morning, so we're wiped out too. We ain't eating. I know you probably haven't eaten either, but and I understand you're having some issues as far as where you guys actually were at. So we want you to try at least think about where you guys with the body in the back of the car.
I remember going back around and going up the hill. And unfortunately, it's just the way that I was laying down in the back.
You were actually physically laid down, or you
were
just kind of relaxed?
No, the
this?
Yeah,
You were all the way out.
They wanted me to lay low. I was crunched up, I was down. I thought they wanted me to lay down in the back and they wanted me to see where we're going.
He's a supposed killer.
I really thought that was it for me, really.
William was happy to cooperate with the detectives, which made their jobs considerably easier. The only problem is that he didn't actually see where they drove. He was forced to lay down in the back of the car so nobody saw him in the car from the outside, so he might not be as helpful as the detectives initially thought. However, he was able to tell them that they didn't travel for very long and gave a description of the area where they finally hid the body.
Was there a lot of, was it a real rural area?
It was getting more rural at that point, I remember just a lot of, before we got to the place with the fenced off area where he pulled in, where he wanted to just take her body to, I just remember a lot of taller trees. I remember seeing a lot of orange, you know, a lot of the fall colors, you know, it's really popping out. Like it was just really, really bright because there was so many trees. You know, so I knew we were getting more work. Then I popped up to.
But rural is the exact opposite of what he just described, bro. Rural means there's no housing, there's no nothing, right? Rural is like, actually, I just capped. That's what I explained. I don't know why I was thinking rural meant like desert wasteland. I'm not finna Google it either because I'm not that deep in, but I thought rural was like emptiest. I think rural just means like no housing.
2-lane road, yeah, not really marked, yeah, just a 2-lane road. I didn't see any cars coming around.
It wasn't the most detailed description ever, but it turns out it was all they needed. A few days later, an officer mentioned they might know an area just outside of Akron that matched the description. So they sent out a patrol car to search the area, and sure enough, they found it. Samantha's body lying amongst the dirt, not even buried, just dumped out in the open. Immediately, they were able to identify it by the butterfly tattoo on her arm that her mother had mentioned all those days ago. Their search had finally come to an end, and her family could finally make peace. The only question now was what to do with the suspects. The detectives clearly named Danny as the murderer, with Tony having a large role in the murder too. However, despite how helpful William ended up being, the rest of his interview and other witness statements implied he had a lot more to do with the murder than he initially let on. So he was charged with abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence, with a sentence of 10 years. And the court had to decide on the fate of Dylan,
Lock him up.
19-year-old. They decided that he shouldn't have been involved in this, and given a second chance, he might be able to get his life back on track. So he was charged with tampering and obstructing, but he was only given 5 years of probation. As for the killer couple, Tony was given 16 years for tampering with evidence and obstruction of justice, and Danny was charged with murder and abuse of a corpse, and given a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 24 years. Thanks again, Surfshark, for sponsoring this video. Head over to surfshark.com.
That was a great video. They all did some mess up. I mean, I get it. He's 19. He's young, bro. He didn't really know, but I don't know. I feel like there's not no excuse. Everyone knows when something wrong is happening, right? Whether he was I understand him being nervous and not want to say nothing. Completely understandable. Once he hits that cell block, and they saying, "Hey, man, you know, this and that," I'm no longer trying to hold nothing in. I'm letting it all spill. But that's just me though. I ain't built for that life, so.